Hi everyone, welcome to Beekeeping While Black. I'm Karen. I'm so excited to share this video with you about my hard-learned lessons about what type of beekeeping suit or protective gear, if you will, that is best for beekeeping. This is so important because unfortunately I've had a lot of bee stings over the last year, and frankly most of them were really because of my own fault in not having protective gear. And so I'm very passionate about this, and so I'm so excited to share with you this video to talk about what are the best things that I've learned and my suggestions for the type of beekeeping suit that new beekeepers should consider as protective gear, because we want to make sure that not only are bees good, but we are too. Okay, so I want to talk about the two beekeeping suits that I have. I've learned some lessons from them, and unfortunately, although I am tired of spending money, I will be getting a third beekeeping suit, maybe a little while, because I really am tired of spending money. But I'm gonna get another beekeeping suit that will really frankly kind of just incorporate the two things that I like about the beekeeping suits that I currently have. And so if I can figure out the editing, I'm gonna put both into the photo, but if not, we'll see what happens. What I learned from my beekeeping class was to do a suit. They talked about doing what made you comfortable. You know, at the very least you should have gloves and a veil on. There's some people who are very minimalist when it comes to their protective gear, and so I thought, like, oh, as a short plus size woman, I'll probably never be able to find a suit that actually works for my body type, so therefore I'm not gonna do the jacket. I'm not gonna do a full suit. I'm just gonna do a jacket, and I'm gonna do gloves, and that will save me some money, and I'll just make sure that I wear long pants, you know, make sure that my ankles are covered and everything. That was a bad mistake. So in my first beekeeping experience, I got stung in my forehead, and also like right here. I actually still have a mark to this day, and I got stung in the hand. And so both of those stings were because of things that I just didn't know about protective gear. So one, I will say, somebody told me like, oh, you don't need to wear gloves right now, and so I ended up getting stung on this finger. Sorry, I hope I don't give you the finger, but on this finger, I ended up getting stung. It was a bad reaction where my finger was very swollen. It actually swelled for a few days, and then it went down, and then a week later to the day it swelled again. So that was actually hard, and it was so bad that it was difficult to be able to contract my finger, well, this finger in particular. And so from that I just learned, always wear gloves. That's just that should be the default of anything. Gloves are very important, but I'll talk about that more later. But the other thing is that with the suit that I have, I didn't know that that type of veil could easily collapse against your skin. And so what happened was, at one point it collapsed against my head, and I got stung here because at that point my skin was reachable to a bee. So what I learned from that is to keep a cap on under this type of thing. And so I have one that is meant for women with, you know, natural hair, so it has a wider opening. And so this is easy. I actually really like this hat. I found it on Etsy from a black owned company. I'll see if I can link them in the bio function, but that is my tip. Use a hat. Also support black businesses when possible. And so that's something that I learned. This has definitely been important. However, it is not a safe veil. What I will say is that even with this hat, that type of veil can still collapse against your face. It actually collapsed against my face at the lower end one time when I was beekeeping, and I actually got stung twice right here. Somehow in the same spot I got two stingers, and that was actually a quite scary experience. So I highly suggest considering not getting that type of veil, because it can be dangerous even when you take extra precautions to stay protected. When it comes to the aspect about gloves, I want to talk about that because that is very important. I had an experience where I actually did not leave my hive as soon as I should have, and they were very aggressive. I was by myself. and they really attacked me very hard. That was actually the day that I got stung in the face, and it wasn't until I got stung in the face that I actually, you know, exit stage left. And so I should have left a long time before that. And so that is a lesson learned, unfortunately, the hard way. But what I will say is that gloves is important, because though when I came back and like used a tweezer to actually count how many times my bees attempted to sting me, it was about 15 stingers in my gloves. And so that could have been very devastating to me from a reaction standpoint. You know, I don't know where the limit is for my body when it comes to how many stings I can handle at one time. I don't want to find out what that limit is. But even then, like, just to be able to have stings and just knowing the reaction that my body or many other people's bodies could have, like, the last thing you want is to be stung in the hands. I've already been stung in the finger. I would not want to know what it feels like for the rest of my hands, to be stung and to probably, you know, potentially lose functionality for, you know, a few days or even a week. And so gloves are very important. The ones that came into my kit, they were an extra large, and so they were too big, which meant that it messed with my ability to grab stuff in the hive, and so I actually had to go down in size for it. But they're also very thin, and so I don't think that if I was in that occurrence where the bees tried to sting me like 15 times, I don't think this would have cut it, honestly. Especially right here, because the fabric is so thin at the arm part. And so, yeah, I would just suggest maybe, you know, maybe don't go cheap with the gloves. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I may have brought these separately, but they were like $15. That's what it was. I definitely brought these separate from the actual jacket. And so for these, they were cheaper. They were too big, so it's not functionality. So definitely make sure that you're getting the proper size for your hands. But I ended up investing more money once I realized that I had the wrong size. And I got these, and they're Humblebee gloves. They're dirty from all the propolis that is in the hive. Propolis is like a bee glue that's yellow, and you really can't get it out anywhere. These are thicker in the arm section. It's also just a better quality in the actual hand portion of the glove. This was about double the price, around like $30 something. But it was well worth the investment. Again, I was stung multiple times by those bees. They tried to sting me. However, it never actually pierced through my skin. So this is probably one of the best investments that I did, where I decided to spend more money, because these have worked out. The only thing that I would say that became an issue is that I actually put them in the dryer. Actually, no, I washed them and then let them air dry. However, they shrunk in size, and so these are not, you really need to hand wash these, but other than that, they're a great investment. When the other ones shrunk in size, I actually brought a second pair of the exact same type of gloves, because they really are effective, and so I highly suggest these. But more so, even if this isn't the point that the type of gloves that you want, my main takeaway from this is invest in gloves. Do not go cheap on them. You do not want flimsy gloves, because that can have consequences to your hands. Your hands are probably most at risk when it comes to bee stings, just because that's the part of the part of your body that's going to come in the most contact, or be seen as the initial contact to come in the hive with the bees. And so they can be more likely and closer to being able to actually sting your hand. And so I highly suggest that you, again, do not go cheap with this product. Okay, so I want to talk about what are the things that I highly suggest for new beekeepers, or those who are in the market for protective gear for your future beekeeping endeavors or current beekeeping endeavors, as well as just the suggestions for what I'm going to consider when I buy my third beekeeping suit. The first thing I would say is make sure that you have a full suit, or just fully covered. You really want to be covered from head to toe to start off with. One of the things that I made the mistake with as a new beekeeper is that, because I've seen people in the classes in person, or even on Instagram, TikTok, all those other platforms, there's people who who handle bees, but they don't actually wear anything. I thought that I could get away with wearing less, and I wasn't crazy enough to go without a veil and without gloves or anything like that. No judgment, actually a lot of judgment towards those who do. However, my mistake with it though was that as a beekeeper who is new, I don't know enough about bees to make that judgment for myself, is what I should have realized. And so therefore I highly suggest be more protective, not less at the beginning. And then as you become comfortable as a beekeeper and as you become comfortable with your bees, decide then if you want to wear less pieces. Maybe you just want to do a jacket and a veil. Maybe you just want to do a veil and gloves. That's up to you. But I really think as new beekeepers, we don't always know what we don't know at that point. Beekeeping can change from season to season. Bees' behavior change throughout the year. What may be true one week may not be true the next week or in a few weeks. And so therefore, I highly suggest that for beekeepers that you start off fully covered, and then that way you can always decide to lessen your protective gear as you become more comfortable, but better safe than sorry, especially at the beginning when you're still learning. The second thing that I would say is for your suit to be white, brown, whatever it is, it just needs to be a color that is not within bee vision. That was my mistake with my second suit. They were more aggressive. And so on Beekeeping While Black, I'm trying to do tips and education for people. And one of the things that I posted in the past was about what colors bees can actually see in. And so you do not want a suit that is violet or really in the purple family in general. You don't want a suit that is blue or in the blue-green family. And so, i.e., you do not want a suit that is mint. That is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. You don't want a suit that is also yellow or orange and also stay away from the color black. And so because of that, yeah, but white is honestly a safer color. It's also more accessible because most suits are made with those colors. So that's what I suggest. Last thing that I would say, this is Beekeeping While Black, which means that the context that I try to add is to talk about my perspective as a Black woman, and also hopefully other opinions of other Black beekeepers as well. And one of the things is that as a woman who has natural hair and often wears her hair in ponytails or pull them up, some veils are not good for your hair type. And so if you are a Black beekeeper in particular and you have protective hairstyles a lot or you have natural hair a lot, I highly suggest that you think about what type of veil that you're going to use, because some veils require it to work most effective when they are on the crown of your head. And if the crown of your head does not fit, if the crown of your head does not fit conventional sizes, such as mine with my natural hair, it won't sit on your head right, and then at that point your face could be at risk of getting stung. And so therefore I highly suggest that as you are thinking about what type of suit you do, maybe look around, ask other Black beekeepers, even if it's just on Instagram, what type of veils work best for their hair and their hairstyles. And so I would highly suggest that that's something you consider. But regardless of the case, I think regardless of race or anything, people should really prioritize two things, which is the glove quality and protection of your face. Do not go cheap with the veils. Some veils may be cheaper, but you really want something that's going to protect you, because it can be very dangerous when you get stung. I got stung right here at one point. To no fault of my own. I was fully protected. I had even my cap on during the time, but the veil still collapsed towards the lower part of my face. It was so close to my throat that I was afraid that my throat would swell, not because I would go into shock, but because this would swell up. And so it did swell, but thank God it did not swell in a way that was dangerous, in a life-threatening way. But I did have to stay up for 24 hours in order to make sure that the swelling did not go in the wrong place. That was a very miserable 24 hours. It was a very scary 24 hours. And I will do anything needed in order to make sure that I avoid that again. And so at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our bees are okay, but we also want to make sure that we're okay. And so I highly suggest that when it comes to the veils that we use, that you are prioritizing the safety of your face and the safety of your hands as well. All right, y'all, so that is it for me with this video. I am so excited to be able to hear from you all. I hope people can make in comments, ask questions. I'll answer to the best of my ability. If you are a beekeeper and you have experience with different suits, let me know if there's something that you think is more effective of a style of veil that is more effective when it comes to it. What other styles have I not tried that you're like, absolutely do not do that? Are there any brands of beekeeping suits that you feel like this is worth the investment? You know, if somebody wants to pay a pretty penny, but are there also beekeeping suits that are maybe very effective, but maybe they're, you know, a little less, you get more bang for your buck with that suit? And so please go into the comments and let me know what you think, and I'll be here next week with a new video. Bye.